Hello everyone and welcome back to our channel. We are Millennial Mom. If you don't know who is who, I'm Millennial. This is Mom.
Hello everyone and welcome back to our channel. If you're new here, I'm Mom or Kay from Millennial Mom, and today we're going to talk about 90 Day Fiance, The Other Way, Season 5, Episode 2, Long Distance Medium. Now, before I begin, just like with every other video, if you haven't already joined the family, please consider subscribing. Like this video, leave your comments so I know what you thought about these couples. And tell a friend that Mom or Kay or Millennial Mom is doing the 90-day franchise. We're doing Match Me Abroad. We're doing Ready to Love and the tell-alls that come with that and reunions. So let's get started. So on today's episode of 90 Day Fiance The Other Way, we're going to see Kenny and Armando, Julio and Kirsten, Holly and Wayne, Brandon and Mary, Kimberly and Tj that round out this episode. So we're going to start with Kenny and Armando just simply because they, in my opinion, don't have a storyline. It's just mainly like a personal issue that's going on. Kenny and Armando are trying to decide if they want to add an addition to the family, whether to adopt a baby or go through other resources to get a baby. And Kenny is kind of apprehensive because he's 60 years old. He already has adult children and he has grandchildren, and he doesn't want to start over at this stage in his life. Versus Armando, who's saying that, he knew that he wanted to expand. Kenny knew that he wanted to expand the family going into this. Kenny is 34 years old. He has a 9-year-old daughter, Hannah, and maybe whether he wants a sibling for Hannah or just in addition in general, because he maybe wanted a large family, he wants to, explore the opportunities to make that happen. So Kenny is telling Armando that maybe, we need to move to a bigger city with bigger businesses, bigger schools, more opportunities. And that would be moving from their small town in Mexico to Mexico City. So Armando is a little apprehensive about moving to a large city as Mexico City is, because he calls himself a small town boy and he likes the slower paced life and he's used to it growing up that way. Anyways, the smaller town, the rural kind of thing, just, slow and steady and calm. He doesn't like the hustle and bustle. But if you look at their personalities, Kenny seems like he's much more outgoing into, maybe he had like the former party lifestyle. I do believe he mentioned that when we first met him on their season, versus Armando, who's just been kind of, laid back in the cut. Armando just recently, in the last couple years, have come out to his family because they didn't realize that he was actually gay, and that, when him and Kenny got together, that's when, the mom accepted it, but Armando's dad took a little bit of time to, come around to his new lifestyle. So Armando has decided to take a weekend trip or a couple days with him and Kenny and Hannah to see if he would like the larger city, the hustle and bustle. So they get out there, and the very next morning after they arrive, they have to put food in the hotel that they're staying in or Airbnb, wherever they're at. But Kenny doesn't know a whole lot of Spanish. And he even says that Armando knows this already. Kenny says he's got a learning disability and that him learning Spanish will be a little bit harder for him. And on top of that, he's older now, so he doesn't necessarily have the patience. So as Kenny, Armando, and Hannah are at the outdoor market to get food and seasonings and just any little incidentals they need for their time in Mexico City, Armando gave Kenny a list. It's like, here, you go get what we need. So just in case I'm not around, you can, survive. You can go out to the store and go get whatever we need or whatever you need for the household. So Armando's telling Hannah that, you know what, no one in this market knows a bit of English. Hannah said, no one? He's like, nope. So Kenny finds the place where they have chicken. So he knows how to say cuatro pollo, 4 pieces of chicken, right? Now he needs like salt and pepper, and he doesn't know how to say salt and pepper in Spanish. And so Armando is, walking behind him, but just like kind of off to the side, like laughing at him, like, oh, like he doesn't get it. Like he needs to know what to do again if I'm not around. So after the shopping trip, Kenny finally, he doesn't necessarily give up, but he's like, Armando, can you help me? I'm having a hard time. And so they go sit, Armando, Hannah go sit down to talk about living in a bigger city. And even Hannah says to Kenny that I know that you gave up coming here for us, and I know you miss your kids. And I think that I would get along okay if I have to be away from my abuela and my cousins. If I had to move here, I would get used to it. And even though Armando hears this, he still is apprehensive about wanting to move. So as Hannah takes the dogs to walk and get some playtime together, that's when Kenny and Armando get into a disagreement about moving to a bigger city and just the dynamics and what could go wrong because the bigger city isn't as accepting to their relationship. And Armando really doesn't want to have to go through that again. And then Armando says something to the fact of he feels like maybe Kenny feels like, or maybe Armando said feels like he owes it to Kenny to do certain things to move because Kenny did it for him to take his life from where he was living in Florida to move to Mexico. And then Kenny, felt the type of way. He was like, no, that's how you feel. That's not what it's supposed to be. And then Armando was saying that, that's not what I meant. I was trying to put in, perspective for you. So honestly, their disagreement doesn't seem like it's too much above surface level. They're just trying to see if they want to or could live in a bigger city if they adopt a child or just go about that process. So again, I don't know why they're on the show. It doesn't give like real life the other way storylines like the couples that's on now. So, but anyways, I guess we'll have to keep watching and see how it turns out. So let's move to Julio and Kirsten. Or as far as Kirsten's concerned, it's Julio, because Julio said that Julio sounds more European. Okay. And I'm like, no, Julio is Julio. And that's exactly what it is. Well, anyways, he's picking up Kirsten from the airport. She's arrived, but she's calling him back from customs. She's been pulled to the side. Apparently her luggage got flagged for whatever reason. So she's stressed, he's stressed, and he's worried about, if they, send her back on the plane because Kirsten said they took her passport. But overall, after waiting, and we finally see Kirsten come out from the back and they hug, he's happy. And he's not just happy, she's happy too. She did give the scenario of maybe it was a possibility of not having the right suitcase kind of scam thing going on. Sometimes people do that. If you ever flown before, you hear announcements in the airport talk about, stay with your luggage and don't accept any from anybody you don't know. Yeah, that's probably what happened. And then she came on an international flight too. So it was probably like a random pull anyway. So Julia asked her, what is it that you want to do while you're in town? And are you excited to meet my mom? Of course, she says, yes, I'm ready to meet your mom to see how she feels about you moving to Holland. But she does know that Julio wants to move and be with her for, get married, all that stuff. But she doesn't realize that his mom and the family don't know that he's moving to the Netherlands. Now, Julio's trying to convince her that everything will be okay as long as his mom sees that he loves her and, this is the right fit. Don't even worry about it. And then Julio's like, so, when we get there or when I get there, I need to get an apartment and get things set up. She's like, how can you get an apartment if you don't even speak Dutch? Right. So Julio said, well, he tried to learn how to speak Dutch, but after the first 2 lessons, yeah, he was done. He goes, he said, I don't even know what some words are. No, he gave like, I don't know, maybe about 3 words he knew, and one was a bad word. So, I mean, that don't get you too far. You have to know at least the basics. So, anyways, as they leave the airport, Julio tells Kirsten that he has reserved a hotel room for them for the night so they can reconnect before they meet. Well, he takes her to meet his family. So she's cool with that. But Kirsten's like, so where is the person that holds the stick? He's like, the person that holds the stick. Even I was like, what person that holds the stick? Kirsten was talking about the Statue of Liberty. That's what she's trying to see because Julio's in New York. So he's like, oh, okay. So as he's driving to their expressway and everything, he decides to take her down to Times Square to look at the lights. And on the way, they pass the Statue of Liberty. She's like, oh, okay, there it is. And then she also sees a school bus. And apparently that was the first time she's seen a school bus because she's from the Netherlands, and in her small village, maybe they all walk to school or take bikes or take the boats on the canal or something. So she's never seen that. And then while they're at Times Square, they're taking pictures, he's showing her around different little things. He asked Kirsten, so do you think, look at all the things here, that you can live in New York? She said, not really. She goes, Times Square seems like it's nice to come to visit as a tourist, but not to live. So Kirsten is into the slower paced lifestyle as well, and she's not into hustle and bustle. Because as a matter of fact, when we first met Kirsten, she said she was not even close to wanting to come live in America. That wasn't her thing. So, well, when when Julio takes Kirsten to meet his mom, we'll see how it goes, because Julio said in confessional, if his mom doesn't care for Kirsten, he don't know what it is he'll do. So, does his mom have that much pull, or will he follow his heart? All right, so let's move to Holly and Wayne. So Holly and her mother are on the way to South Africa. She plans on marrying Wayne within 1 week after she arrives. Holly says it feels like a fairy tale and strongly meant to be. Now, when Holly was saying this with Wayne feels like a fairy tale is meant to be, I'm like, Holly, you've been married twice. She explained last week, the first time was for 2 months, and the second marriage was annulled within like 12 or 24 hours. So how is this a different feeling than your first 2 marriages that went quick like that? Because apparently with this, she's moving a little bit fast as well. So, well, anyways, Holly's mom is coming to South Africa with her because 1, she's never met Wayne, and 2, to see what South Africa is like, and Holly will be safe, because apparently mom must have heard some stories about Wayne's apartment getting broken into. Okay, because even in confessional last week, Wayne said his house was broken into like 3 times. Now, whether these 3 times, whether he was home or not, still 3 times. Okay. And so that's a whole lot to take in, especially if Wayne is at work or whatever he's doing, and then Holly is at home and there's break-ins that occur. Yeah, it was dangerous for anybody, but it's definitely more dangerous because Holly's in a place where she just can't get up and go somewhere, may not know how to dial for help. Matter of fact, in South Africa, they may not even have a 911 system. I don't know, but either way, it does sound sketchy at best. All right, so again, Holly and her mother are on the plane to South Africa. Now, when we see Wayne, he's excited that Holly's on the way. He said he hasn't seen her in 6 months. And honestly, when Holly went back to the United States, he didn't think that he would see her again. Kind of like he was feeling like perhaps it was like a fling that they had. But once she got back to the States, she recontacted him again, and they've been going at it ever since. So he's ready to see her, and he's also ready to get married in the first week. So Wayne is also not thrilled that Holly's mom is coming. Yes, he knows that she's going to meet him for the first time and vice versa. But Wayne's apartment is small, and, it's small. Let's not even think about the break-ins. He just said it was small. And that once they get married, they need to have their married time, their intimate time, and the mom is going to be in his room with the bed. So do we got to kick the mom out the bed so we could get in it? Anyways, yeah, that is what's Wayne's issue at the moment. So when we see Holly and her mom again, they have finally made it to South Africa after like a 36-hour flight. They probably changed planes about 2-3 times, and they get off the plane, and Holly is immediately sick. She says she's got nausea, so she's got to run to the bathroom. And when we see her, I mean, she's very, very pale. So she said she didn't eat and barely slept on the plane, excuse me. So that means she was probably dehydrated and not eating for 36 hours. Yeah, that'll do it. I mean, not even no crackers or nothing to settle your stomach. Because I understand you're nervous, but yeah, that's a long time to go being dehydrated and not having just a little something in your stomach. So, well, once she comes out the bathroom, Wayne sees Holly. Holly sees Wayne. They have a good hug. And Wayne is like trying to come in for a kiss. And Holly's like, can't kiss you right now. I was just nauseous. Meaning I was just in the bathroom, having to release some stuff. You may not want to get all up in here. Okay. So Wayne understands. So they go sit down. Wayne and Holly's mom, have their pleasantries and things like that. Holly's mom is very still apprehensive. I mean, she says he looks like a nice guy, but still she don't know him, and she's kind of afraid to leave her daughter in South Africa, just not knowing Wayne in general and probably the story she heard. So as Holly is reaching into her suitcase for something, I'm not sure what she's reaching for, but she's had on a dress with spaghetti straps, and she's bending over, and you can see her breasts and everything kind of like falling out the dress. And when it's like, fix your dress. She's like, what? He's like, fix your dress. Wayne says in confessional, like, I don't want people to be looking at Holly like this. I feel like they're sexualizing her. And she doesn't understand why Wayne is saying, fix your dress. He's telling her it's too short. She's like, no, it's okay. So yeah, her outfits of choice and what she's brought and what she's used to wearing. Wayne is not here for that. I think he wants Holly to be in some jeans and a t-shirt or something else. I mean, we'll find out because he alludes to it going into next week's episode. Okay, so next up we have Brandon and Mary. I mean, just where do we start with Brandon? Honestly, they can have their own show. They really honestly could have their own spinoff show. So Brandon is out fishing with his godparents. And of course, Mary comes along on the video, right? Because they can't eat, sleep, use the restroom, or nothing without being in each other's presence, without one of them thinking they're cheating on each other. So Brandon says he feels supportive of support from his godparents, that they support him through everything. The godparents said, they knew his dad, they knew his mom, and so they felt, compelled to take Brandon in when everything was going on when he was younger. So he's been with them ever since and been very supportive. But his godmother says that, Brandon has definitely changed, and that, she doesn't like the fact that Brandon is on his phone 24/7 with Mary because there's no privacy. She said, like, what if we want to talk to him about something private and you can't because she's always on the phone? So Brandon doesn't seem like, that's not true. He does, but he doesn't. He makes it seem like he doesn't see anything wrong, but at the same time, he contradicts himself, saying like, I don't know how things will work. I know that, it's a lot of stress, just different little things that's going on in Brandon's mind, because he knows this is not healthy, okay? His godparents told him it was toxic. His mother and his sister told him it was toxic. But Brandon kind of took to his godparents more than his mom about what they had to say, because, see, Brandon's mother said that, when Brandon was younger, like 10 years ago, so he's 23 now, so when he was like 13 to, or maybe a little younger, like 10 to his late teens, she had an addiction problem, but she's gotten cleaned up. And so Brandon has lost a lot of trust in her. So he doesn't take her opinions, thoughts, comments at any value, face value or nothing. And you can definitely see that with Brandon. Just when his mom is talking, it's like he's looking at her, but he's looking through her. He's looking at her as though, yes, that's my mom, but like, why are you talking to me? Because what you say is not valid. Like, it's an abandonment issue, even though his mother's still there. So Brandon, honestly, in my opinion, I know I say it a lot with a few singles or couples, but truly, if anyone needs counseling, it is Brandon. Definitely, he needs individual counseling, and then I believe they need family counseling as well to help Brandon get over the hump and express his feelings of his issues going forward or backwards, however you want to say it, with his mother and growing up. But another interesting fact with Brandon is that he said that not only is he going to the Philippines to stay, but his godmother said that he has sent Mary all his paychecks for the last 2 years that total up to $50,000 approximately. And Brandon only has $250 in his bank account as they speak. Okay. And I'm like, Brandon, you took all this money to send to her to build a house for someone you don't know. Now, last week when we saw Mary's house, I'm like, oh, they live in a very nice area. I wonder if that was the house or is it something that's still being built? Either way, $50,000 in the Philippines is a lot of money anywhere, but especially in the Philippines. And so, yeah, the godparents also said that Brandon has lost a few jobs because he couldn't get off his phone, better paying jobs. He just wouldn't give that up for Mary. And I'm like, Brandon, are you kidding? Like, red flag, red flag, red flag. Okay, get your red flags here. And wait, I mean, they're knocking him over in the wind. This is so ridiculous. It really, truly is. Again, on one hand, Brandon's like, his life is with Mary. He loves her. He can't see himself without her. Other side, he's like, I hope it gets better when I get over there to the Philippines. She's stressing me out. She's worrying me. She always thinks I'm cheating. She always thinks I'm doing this, doing that. So he's conflicted, but at the same time, it seems like he's on a trance in one area, but, he could see the light in another. I need Brandon, again, to get that counseling and get it together. Like, something seriously needs to get him back out that trance. So even his godparents say the relationship has been toxic. I mean, old news. This is episode 2. I'm exhausted. I want to see the drama, but I'm exhausted. It's way too much. Seriously. So next we see is the next day or two, and Brenda's at the airport. He's on his way to the Philippines, and he's telling his godparents that he hopes, or maybe he's not sure that his mom will meet him at the airport, because since they last met, he wasn't really speaking to her. And so he also mentioned that he hasn't heard from his mom. So the godparents are like, well, either way, we're here for you. We want to see you do good. If you need anything, reach out to us. We just can't come over there to come get you. You just can't fly back over, but we'll still be there for you. Stay in contact. We love you. And so guess who is at the airport? It's Brandon's mom. She came after all, and Brandon gives her a hug. Brandon is just so cold. He's so closed off with her. You could cut the tension from Brandon with the knife, not from his mom, because his mom seemed like she's trying, reaching out, giving him encouragement, love, and everything else. So she even tells Brandon, she's hugging him. She goes, please don't go. But if you have to go, I understand. I love you. We're here for you. We understand this is your choice and you have to do what's best. And when Brandon's mom said, I love you, he was just like, he shook his head. He was like, thank you. He just can't bring himself to say, I love you too. It's a lot of trauma, you can tell, with Brandon. And it's hard to watch on one end, but as far as the upcoming drama with Mary, yeah, I'm ready to see that, because, what they say, a soft tail makes a hard behind. Yeah, that's Brandon and Mary, but especially Brandon. But on this side of the coin, it's like, I feel bad because Brandon's struggling with his emotions with his mom, his sisters, his godparents, and just the reality of going to the Philippines, knowing that things may not work out. So now Brandon's on the plane, and of course he's got Mary on the phone. And at first, it's text messages that they're showing, and it's like, oh, my Wi-Fi is back on. Where are you sitting? Your Wi-Fi is back on, right? Because in episode number 1, Mary confessed to us, the viewer, that she turns off her Wi-Fi so she go hang out with her male friends, and Brandon doesn't know. Can you imagine if Brandon did this? Oh my gosh, she's gonna pull the same stunt she did on the airplane, because it said 20 minutes later, Brandon is now sitting in another seat that's empty because the person sitting next to him was a female. And Mary is like, oh, you're going to talk to her. You're going to cheat with her. That's why you're not responding. I'm like, listen, he just barely took off. Okay. His phone should be in airplane mode anyway. All right. So, I mean, if he can't sit next to somebody in the airport, on the airplane, what is he going to do on an international flight? I mean, what's he going to do walking through the airport? Okay, talking to a ticket agent, talking to a TSA. Like, it's a female. He can't talk to no females, but you can talk to whoever you want to talk to. Woo, Brandon, wake up, wake up, wake up. Anyways, that was their time on the show for this week. All right, so let's move to new couple, Kimberly and TJ. So Kimberly is a clairvoyant, okay? TJ is a recording broadcaster, does voiceovers in India. We're actually introduced to TJ first. We're actually seeing him at his job, at his craft, doing voiceovers, doing commercials. And okay, TJ, do you? TJ says people in India, he just brings it up all random, that people in India are into people's business without asking, and he doesn't like that. He says that even though he lives with his family, I think he was low-key shading his family when he said that. TJ tells us he lives with his family, his mom, his dad, and his brothers, and that they follow traditional Indian cultures and just Indian traditions in general, and that the woman stays home, cooks, cleans, takes care of the house, and the man works and then comes home. So, yeah, he's saying that Kimberly may not be ready for these traditional Indian cultures. And let me just say off top, any person that we've seen, at least for me, let me speak for myself, that's gone to India on any 90-Day Fiance franchise hasn't had the best luck. There's always been some sort of drama with the cultural norms that's expected of the ladies. Okay, even with go back as far as Sumit and Jenny went back and forth a few times, and listen, Sumit had to go rogue to even be with Jenny. So just from that to this, oh yeah, Kimberly is going to be in for a big surprise, because even TJ says that, Kimberly doesn't realize, or maybe she don't know yet, that even though she's American and she expects to do American things that's normal, but here in India, they do things the normal, traditional, at least in this household, the cultural way. And he's not sure if she will, be able to settle in and cope. Now, TJ says that he met Kimberly through social media. And he said after 6 months of dating, he proposed on the phone. She came to live in India on the K-1 visa, where they hit it off, and she met the family. She had her own apartment, so she was used to being independent. So now when Kimberly comes, she's going to be living with his parents. But even though they are building an apartment on top of the parents' house in their own place, it's still going to be traditional norms. And he's not sure, again, if she's going to go along with the flow. Also, we learned that TJ and his family are also preparing the Indian wedding in advance of Kimberly coming, as far as the details. It's going to be a 3-day extravaganza, very traditional. And he mentioned that even though Kimberly wants to wear white, which is traditional American wedding, she's going to wear red, because in India, if you wear white to your wedding, that signifies like you're a widow or something like that. It doesn't give a good vibe. Versus red gives prosperity and happiness and wealth, things like that. So now when we meet Kimberly, she's at her, I guess, her job or side gig or whatever, doing her tarot card. She's got a customer. She's talking about all the different ways that she's intuitive. She says she always has been since she was a young girl. She also goes into conversation about how she met TJ. Now she's telling this to her client. She said one day she had a dream and she was in the desert. She was riding dirt bikes or ATVs. She couldn't see his face. And so, she asked her spiritual advisors, who's this guy? Like, when can I meet him? And then one day she was on social media or received a message from TJ, and she heard from her spiritual advisors, this is the one. She's like, this him? He's the one? So yes, he's the one. Now, Kimberly, meeting him or getting a message on social media for whatever app you was on doesn't constitute a dream. That's two different things, okay? Because TJ already said that it was on an app. Now, moving forward, Kimberly is excited to go to India. She has a little bit of apprehensiveness because she knows about the traditional marriages and different cultural norms like that. And she knows that she doesn't want to live in the same house until her apartment gets ready with TJ's family and his brothers. And also she's having a hard time with the wedding being planned for her. So she's just like, I don't know if I can do this, if I'm making the right decision. But at the same time, she says she loves him. Now, when we see Kimberly meet with her dad and stepmom, they're also coming to India in a week, I think a week after, to see her get married. She's happy about that. She's telling them that she appreciates them supporting her. She said that she feels close to her stepmom because when she was growing up, even though her dad and her mom are divorced, and she's like maybe one of the youngest of 5 kids or something like that, that she didn't feel like she had a connection with her mom because she felt like her personality is more what her dad is. And so she felt like her mom took it out on her. And so she was thanking her stepmom again for being there for her and, being close and help guide her along the way. They're concerned for Tiffany. I said Tiffany, where I get Tiffany from, excuse me. They're concerned for Kimberly going to India about what can happen. They're telling her that things are different in the culture and you might want to know what you're getting into before you go over there. But you know what? When you're so love struck, seem like how Kimberly is and seem how like Brandon is and Mary, it doesn't matter. You just want to go. And if it works, it does. And if it don't, well, you don't have a plan B, and I guess you'll figure it out. And that seems like that's exactly what Kimberly is doing. And yeah, that's what that is. So also too, real quick about Kimberly and TJ. TJ's family, they were telling TJ, well, the brother was telling TJ that, Kimberly is going to have to conform to what we do over here in India. She's going to learn how to cook and clean and take over, because if not, like, no sense in even getting married. Like, what is this about? So it's already tension within the family as far as Kimberly goes. So it makes me wonder, like, what happened when she was already there prior to coming back again? What the dynamic was with the family? Like, was she like standoffish with them or something? Because they're not giving like a good rapport when it comes to Tiffany for some reason. Kimberly. I don't know why I keep saying Tiffany. All right, so maybe I'm clairvoyant. Maybe her middle name is Tiffany. So anyways, that was the end of the episode. Next week, we should see Kimberly arrive in India. And like I said, things seem to be tense with TJ already. Kenny or Armando, in my opinion, going in circles about living in a big city. Mary is waiting on Brandon, and she's telling producers that, yeah, she told Brandon when he was on the plane that she didn't want to be with him no more and she don't care about him and that she's done. So listen, Brandon's coming anyway, so you can knock all that to the side. Kirsten learning that Julio hasn't told his mom about his move to the Netherlands, so that'll be interesting. And then Holly's mom on the way to Wayne's house, looking out the window and looking at the neighborhood saying, this is sketchy. I don't know if I like this neighborhood. And then when they do get to Wayne's house, he's showing Holly and her mother how to use pepper spray. So that didn't help it out either. So, all right, everyone. That was the end of the episode. Don't forget to leave me your comments so I know what you thought. And until next time, everyone, live simply, be grateful.